Okay, here is a quick walkthrough of how my front yard raised bed vegetable garden is doing after Hurricane Irene. Today is August 28th, 2011. It's Sunday morning around 11:30 in the morning here in New Jersey. Basically Hurricane Irene passed through within the last 24 hours here. Right now it has died down. It's not raining anymore. There's still a fair breeze, but nothing too substantial. One of the areas that took a bit of a hit right here is where I have some gourds growing. So I'll show you what's going on here. So these are gourds. You can see here's one here. I have a bunch of videos on growing birdhouse gourds, and these grow as long vines that go climbing up all over the place, and they are terrific climbers. And I had planted a couple of seeds at the base of this basketball hoop. So I don't even know how tall a basketball hoop is, maybe up to the top of the backboard there. I don't know if that's 15 feet, say, give or take. And the vines have grown all the way up there, and also the vines were growing out across the lawn, so I had an extra one of these remesh, which is a reinforcing mesh, a metal welded wire mesh that's 10 feet by 5 feet with 6-inch holes in it for reaching through. And I had laid that across here, and I had all the vines going through along through the remesh, and it made this really cool wall full of vines. And you can see here where the hurricane has kind of shifted it and halfway leaned it over. I did have a number of bamboo poles to reinforce it, but I guess a few bamboo poles weren't quite enough for hurricane force winds or maybe tropical storm winds. I'm not sure exactly how fast they got here in northern New Jersey, but anyway, places we're talking about 40, 50, 60, 70 miles per hour winds, maybe gusts even more than that. And so I don't know, at any rate, this wire mesh was sort of standing up, and I'm going to have to get it standing up again, but I'm going to have to work on that in a few minutes when I have both hands free and not have the camera, so that I can try to get that back up without tearing too many of the vines and things on the way. The vines are very strong, and it's actually kind of impressive in a way that between the vines and a couple of bamboo poles that that it held this thing, because it was this big panel. Most of the rest of my garden seems to have done pretty darn well, all things considered. And again, across through my garden, I have these, these remesh, these grids, so to speak. And I think that has made a big difference, because last year, when I had, this, I have, this whole first, section and a half of the fences here. Really, last year I was just staking those up with bamboo poles and other things to stake the individual tomato plants. This year I have those grids, placed up there. And last year, even with a heavy rainfall, a lot of the tomato plants would end up, falling over and kind of draping down, kind of along the path in front of the garden here. Whereas this year, even with a hurricane, the tomato plants seem to have stayed nicely in place. The top parts here that were going up higher than the fence, that were growing up, maybe 8 or 10 feet tall, those have draped over to the point of the grid here. You can see those draped down from there, but seem to have, but they're still intact and still have tomatoes on them. And you can even see a few tomatoes that I'll need to pick here. So anyway, these seem to be doing pretty well. I had picked a lot of the stuff during the day or two before the hurricane, just figuring I wasn't sure how much I was going to be able to get back out here, and also knowing that with a lot of rain, a lot of water, that sometimes that can swell up the tomatoes or plants and crack the skin and such. So those seem to be doing okay. My basil's doing fine. My yellow summer squash here is doing okay. I just harvested one off here the other day. Looks like there's another one growing down in there. I'll have to come back for it in a few days' time when that ripens up. And just coming along through here. What else have I got growing here? I think that may be some muskmelon, some cantaloupe. And here I have some white eggplant. They seem to be doing all right. And again, you know, these really look like they're unfazed. My nasturtium, they're doing great. Look at the size of that nasturtium. That's a single leaf. Those have a very peppery flavor to them. And I do have some gourds, you know, growing out through, through here as well. You can see the base of one back there, and down through this end, I've got, you know, tomatoes and potatoes rather, and such, you know, that are growing. So more gourds down through this end here. So that's the general gist back here on my front yard raised bed vegetable garden. As far as other places, back around, we head briefly to my backyard. I did have a tree branch that came down from somewhere, and it did crack my outdoor table, a plastic table here on the deck. It's a sizable branch, but you know, certainly you wouldn't want to be standing under it when it fell. And you can see where it cracked and landed here and cracked the edge of my table. You can see the pieces here came free. So, but all in all things considered, I think we survived the hurricane pretty well. We still have electricity. I know a lot of places are out of power, and I know the governor is saying that there's probably maybe in the realm of billions of dollars of damage. So all things considered, I think us having cracked one table and leaned over a few gourds, I think that's probably that we're probably doing pretty well, all things considered. You can see there where some of the tall grasses that I have against that fence are all, sort of beaten down, by the heavy rainfall. All right, so that is it as far as the update on how my front yard raised bed vegetable garden and front yard gourds and all of that are doing in the wake of Hurricane Irene. All right, be safe out there, everyone, and happy gardening.